Hey, welcome to the Easy Does It podcast. I'm your host, Lise, and we are on season 6, episode 7, which means that we have one more episode in the season and then we take a break for a week. That's just how we roll. So today I want to talk to you about how you can really structure your emails for promotion. I don't like to use the word launch because honestly, I feel like launching is something that you do once and then every other time after that it's a promotion because a launch in my mind anyway, yours might be different, but in my head, I'm like if I'm launching, it's because I'm launching something brand new. And then every time after that, I'm promoting because it already exists. So I have been off kind of the launch cycle for a very long time now because I don't often need to create new things. In fact, I'm very much about optimizing the things that I already have and helping the people who already are in my world achieve more. But let's say you are in the process of planning out a launch, planning out a promotion. Either way, this applies kind of in both scenarios. You can create one email that literally will do the work of an entire launch. Now, stick with me as I kind of map this out because it's about selling without hype. When you understand the power of storytelling in your emails and using the nurture and sell framework, this becomes infinitely easier because you're not really having to sell so much as nurture. And then in an offhand way, there's also an opportunity for someone to buy. But it all actually starts more with the strategy. So let's talk about the strategy of presenting the opportunity for people to buy from you every single day. Now, you don't need to be sending emails every single day for this to apply. But what you do need to think about, and this is where strategy comes in, is how are people coming into my world? What does that look like? And how are they finding my offers? Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, when I'm having this conversation with members, they can't clearly articulate this. And so, if we want to talk about action steps today, one of those action steps is going to be to have a clear understanding for yourself. How do people join my world? How do people find my offers? What does that currently look like? And if you don't know that, then this is probably the reason why. And it's often because you're not even talking about your offers. Now, I literally had this conversation with my beautiful friend Anna, I don't know, yesterday or the day before, where I was saying, people don't even know about the Grow Nurture Sale membership because I haven't actually talked about it. I haven't told anyone about it. I'm just like, no wonder nobody's joining it. And so then I was like, okay, well, then what is that going to look like? How am I going to change that? And so for me, that's very much about looking at my entire ecosystem and sitting down and asking those questions. How do people find me? And how am I talking about this particular offer? Now, I have done a really good job of talking about it in my discoverable content. So that's my blog and my podcast, but I haven't done a good job of highlighting and promoting it in my email list. So that's kind of what you want to think about is what is your ecosystem? It's a circle. Your ecosystem should either be pointing people to an offer or pointing people to come back into your email list, right? That's all the assets that you have should either be pointing to an offer or pointing people to your owned community, whatever that looks like. Personally, for me, that is my email. And then kind of like a subsidiary of that now is Substack. But my email is where I want most people to be because that's the community that I own. Whilst I own the community that I build on Substack, it still is part of the Substack platform, first and foremost. So it's just really understanding all of those key components. So once you know all of those things, then we start to go, okay, I want to make sure that I'm presenting the opportunity every single day. So that means that every asset that I own is doing its job of selling. And so blog content, podcast content, video content, wherever it is that your visibility is happening, those pieces always, and there is never a time that this should not be the case if you're creating that content, always points back to an offer. So I already have that built in. Like I said, that is already happening. So you can go and look at any of my videos on my YouTube channel, or you can look at the blog, or you can listen to a podcast, and at some point there will be a reference to an offer in every single element of those components. So that's already happening. Then it's looking at your email, the place where your community is, and then deciding, okay, well, if I'm sending 1 or 2 emails a week, how am I presenting the opportunity there? And again, same deal. If I am going to the effort to create the content, then I want to ensure that I present the opportunity. And then this kind of circles back to the nurture and sell framework and how one email can really do the work of an entire launch. And where you're not selling without having to do a whole bunch of hype is because if your emails are nurture and sell emails, predominantly 80% of the time, then your audience is used to seeing your offers. So that when you do choose to do a dedicated promotion, it doesn't feel weird because you're still talking to them in the same way. Your frequency just might be a little bit higher. So let's walk through the nurture and sell framework so that you can then start to apply this to your emails from this moment going forward. So the first thing is we need a story. Right. Nurture and sell emails are very much about having a story first. Now, I have several tools that help you create stories if you're sitting there going, the story component is the hardest piece for me, and I totally get it. So I have the daily story practice wizard, which basically helps you take anything that happened today and turn it into a story with a lesson. And that is the key component of the nurture and sell framework, is making sure that you have a story and a lesson that is relevant, right? We can tell a whole bunch of stories, but if they're not relevant to our audience and if they don't help them understand the thing that you're trying to tell them, then what's the point in sharing that story? So you'll find more details about that in the show notes below about how you can access that. So story, lesson, then we want an action step. Now, the whole point of writing this email is going to be centered around an offer. So you need to pick your offer first and kind of work backwards. And it will make life a lot easier if you do that. If you go, okay, in this email, I know that I want to sell the 1K Lab membership, for example. That would be my frame of reference. And then I'm like, okay, what are all the problems that I'm helping my audience solve in the 1K Lab? And so I'd be like, okay, I'm helping them ditch social media by building an engaged community. I'm helping them with storytelling. I'm helping them with collaboration. So what are all the idiosyncrasies behind all of those things? What are the fears that might be coming up? So I kind of map things out in that way. And then I start to come up with stories that help someone kind of see and resonate with what I'm saying, and then transition into the lesson, then transition into an action step that they can implement right now. It doesn't have to be anything major, just one thing. And then a call to action. And the call to action can go in one of two places. It can be a direct call to action in the body of that text, or it can be in the PS, and it's up to you. You can do it in both scenarios, or if you really just want to keep this pretty casual, you would do it in the PS. But the call to action is literally, if you want to dive deeper, or if this resonated and you're ready to ABC, then here's some more information, or here is the 1K Lab membership, or here is la la la, right? Like insert your thing here. So that's basically what the nurture and sell framework is. And if you want to learn more about any of this, I cover all of this inside the 1K Lab membership. That's exactly what it lives and exists for, is to help you nurture and sell to an engaged email list. And it also helps you learn how to sell every single day, present the opportunity every single day, and build an audience of people who genuinely want to hear from you. And we do that using collaborations. So you can learn more by going to hustleandgroove.com/the 1K Lab. And the one is the number one. And more details are in the show notes below. Otherwise, have an amazing rest of your week, and I will catch you in the next episode.